On analysing the impact emotional and mental factors can have during the performance development process or during a PDP. Today we're going to talk about mental and emotional subfactors that can impact during a training session. Here is what a potential question may look like in your higher PE exam. Analyse the impact mental and emotional factors have on the performance development process, and it's worth 3 marks. So you would have to give 3 different examples there from the mental and emotional factor. You need to make sure you mention both of those factors to access all 3 marks. To answer these types of questions, you need to have a strong understanding of what are the different subfactors and how might they impact during a training session. Today we're going to talk about subfactors from the grey box on screen and the orange box. So concentration, mental toughness, decision making and motivation as our 4 mental subfactors, and fear, confidence, anger and anxiety as our 4 emotional subfactors. You also need to have an understanding of what are the different approaches that you might use to develop the mental, emotional, social and physical factor, and on screen just now are some of the approaches that we have covered this year, which some of the mental and emotional factors may influence how effective these approaches are. With factors impacting performance as a topic, you may be asked to do certain things. You may be asked to analyse the impact that mental, emotional, social or physical factors have on a performance in a game or an individual activity. You may also be asked to look at how the mental factor impacts on the physical factor, for example, and how they impact on each other. So how the social factor could impact on physical, or how the emotional factor could impact on physical. And lastly, you could be asked to look at how they impact upon the performance development process, which basically means during a training session from your PDP, and that's what we're going to look at today. So it's an analyse question, so we're going to answer this using the 3-step process. We're going to use the 3 I's. We're going to identify something. We're going to try and pick out a specific example from a training session, and the best thing to do here is to try and think of some of the approaches that we looked at previously, and then think about how would the mental or emotional factor impact upon that approach. You're then going to give the implications, so what does this mean, and then what does it lead to. Here are some examples that I have come up with for various different approaches. Now, these are some of the subfactors that I would like you to try and write about: mental toughness, concentration, motivation, anger, or fear. Here are some examples that I've come up with. Fear of other people judging you can have a negative impact when using deep breathing. Mental toughness can have a positive impact on performance during fartlek training. Failing to control your anger could have a negative impact on performance when you make a mistake during a repetition drill. Concentration is important when completing shadow practice. And lastly, fear can have a negative impact when you are using visualization. Here's what an answer would look like in the 3-step process. So being mentally tough can really help you when starting the last 5 minutes of a fartlek training session. This means that even though you are tiring and you want to give up, as you approach the last few minutes, you will continue to persevere and push yourself through these negative thoughts. This results in you completing the last laps to the best of your ability and improving your stamina. Secondly, fear of other people judging you can have a negative impact when using deep breathing. This means if I use this approach in a crowded changing room, I may be worried about what other people are thinking when I'm carrying out deep breathing. This leads to me not being able to focus on my breathing and reduce my heart rate, meaning I'm still anxious before my performance. Thank you very much for watching this short video. I hope you found it useful. There's more videos like this on my YouTube.